welcome to another episode of Talking Naturally. I'm Rachel, I'm one of the Heritage Researchers at NHSN, and I am delighted to be joined by Paul Drummond today. We're going to be asking him a little bit about his work here with NHSN. Paul, first of all, can you tell me a little bit about what your role as Reserve Warden is, what a typical day looks like?
It's a bit like you could describe a caretaking role where I check all the sites in good order, but it also involves the management of the habitats. If there's storms or things like that, then clearing paths, making places safe. Sometimes, unfortunately, we have to close the place. Certainly with Storm Arwen the next morning, it wasn't a safe place for anyone to come. So I got some of the volunteers involved, and we actually started to clear the paths and make them safe, which took about, I think, a fortnight to do, which was pretty quick because the State and Forestry Commission in 2 years, but they had a slightly bigger problem than we did. So it's things like that, day-to-day maintenance and checking whether things are safe, are working, doors aren't jamming, things like that. A lot of it's just pretty ordinary, just checks and things.
Can I ask what sparked your interest in the natural world and maybe where your passion for nature came from?
I don't remember back that far, but it's just always been there. So I used to drive my parents mad because I'd go for a walk and I'd always be half a mile behind them, looking at something. So they were always shouting after me to catch up. So it's just natural, it's just there.
For as long as you can remember.
Yeah, there's nothing, I can't say there was any pivotal point where I suddenly decided, oh, I like natural history. I think it was because it was the only place I felt comfortable as a child, was in amongst nature. So that's where it was my natural habitat. When everyone else was doing things, I was in a ditch looking for frogs. So from a very sporting family, I have absolutely no interest in any kind of sport at all. So as soon as the music from Match of the Day came on, I was out the door and down in the ditch looking for frogs. So it just doesn't do anything for me, sports. So that was my world as a child, was just going off and looking at things and being inspired by them. My parents also used to reward me for my good behaviour and good hard work by taking me to Thorne's bookshop, and at the end of the month I could choose a book which inevitably would always be a wildlife reference book. So that was my reward for working hard and doing my best. So that's what I used to get. Other kids would be getting storybooks, I would get a reference book on butterflies or something like that, and that was and I still do that now.
It's still your treat.
Yes, my treat's to go around charity bookshops and picking up all the field guides that people who go abroad don't want anymore because they went on the holiday and they don't need it anymore. So I buy books that they paid 20 quid for, I buy them for £2.
Deal.
So I'll never go to these places, but I do find it very interesting to look at different things around the world.
For those who might be unfamiliar, can you tell us a little bit about your Wednesday and Saturday conservation groups, what they do and what your role is in that?
Well, the Wednesday work groups go throughout the year. The Saturdays are mainly in winter. During the summer, it's obviously we've got breeding season, so it becomes a little bit more difficult to do any major tasks, other than perhaps like paths and bridge work and stuff like that, where you're not actually going to really upset any wildlife. So the Wednesday work parties are very important for all of the habitat maintenance we're doing here, keeping all the repairs, keeping on top of things. In the winter though, on the Saturdays you can get more family group involvement, and we usually got bigger sort of management tasks like clearing areas for replanting and things like that. So they're quite good on the Saturdays during the winter, because we have so much more work to do in winter, because you've got a very small window of opportunity for doing work at a time when you're not actually having a major impact on the wildlife. So we've got a couple of months in winter to get everything done before the birds decide they're going to start nesting again.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the changes that you've seen here in the reserve over the years?
I don't notice them as much as other people because I've been here for so long. Things change very gradually. So it's usually when people have been away or haven't been for a long time and will come and say, "Oh, hasn't it changed?" And I'll think, "Has it?" And because I just don't. When things happen gradually, I mean, the big change has been the field studies room and the facilities we've got now, which are brilliant. So that's the major change that's happened here. But as I say, for most other things, it just, because I change at the same rate they change, so we don't notice it. But yeah, people who come who haven't been for a while, they will say, "Oh my goodness, this has all changed," and it's but I'm afraid I don't really see the change as much as they do. But obviously, when we've got nice new facilities and stuff like that, that's made a tremendous difference in the fact that we can get school groups in as well, because prior to getting the field study room, we had a canvas out there, and really when it's winter, school groups don't really want to come out and stand out in the freezing cold, so it extends the period that you can have school groups in throughout the year, really, because there's lots of things you can do in winter with school groups, but it means they've got somewhere warm and dry to retreat to. And if the weather's really horrible, they can just retreat there and just look out the window.
But what are some of your own personal wildlife highlights?
It's hard to say because I enjoy it all. I'm a generalist, so I don't specifically have an interest in any one individual thing. So my thing that really interests me is actually habitats. So when I go out to places, I don't go out to look at birds, I go out to look at everything. And that way I'm never disappointed in going out. I go for a walk, so I might not see any birds or anything like that, but I'll see plants and the geology or whatever else. So I look at a holistic sort of approach to natural history, so whereas other people just, I like birds, or I like dragonflies, or I like flowers. I like everything, and that way I'm never disappointed when I go out, so I always see something interesting.
I love that, everything's a highlight.
Well, it is, but every month changes, so everything's... I used to live at Whitley Bay, and I used to live on the links, and I would never want to live by the sea again, because 80% of the year it's just grey sky and grey sea, and it's pretty boring. So when you come to a place like where there's woodland, it changes. It changes throughout the year. So you've got the spring, the autumn, the winter, summer. It's constantly changing. So that's what I've decided I like. I don't want to look at the sea every. I like to go to the seaside for a day, but I would never want to sit there.
So what advice would you give to some of the younger generations who are perhaps a bit concerned with what they're seeing at the minute with climate change and things like that? Any advice to anybody who might just want to help but not know where to start?
One of the things that I feel is that you need to respect nature. So you've got to be able to stand back a bit and give it a little bit of space. And if you do that, you're rewarded, because then you'll see things that you won't do and you go thrashing about. So with me, I'm holistic in my approach to anywhere. So if I go to visit a place, I don't go stomping across it looking for a specific thing, because my eyes are always on the ground, and that way I always feel it's a minimal amount of damage. I'm looking at everything, and I'm not going to step on that orchid or that beetle because I've noticed it. But it's just embrace nature, and to care about nature is to respect it. And there's all sorts of things you can do. You can get involved in conservation, volunteering, and things that you do in normal life. Don't chuck plastic about. Don't waste energy. There's an awful lot. My sons were terrible. They had every light on in the house, When they moved out, there's no lights on in the house now. But yeah, that little things like that, it just helps to reduce the impact we're having on the plant's resources, and just think a bit more about, you know, is this damaging to the environment? Because we all want people to go into the countryside, but often people are going into the countryside and you know they're trashing it without even thinking they're doing that. It's just, you know, would I want this done on my doorstep? Don't leave your rubbish there. If it's hot, sunny, dry weather, don't light fires, because, you know, this is going to have a massive impact if something goes wrong. And it's often not intentional, it's just people just don't think what they're doing. So it's being a bit more responsible, it's been respecting wildlife, so it's not just there for your pleasure, it's there because it's important. It's important to how the planet works, and it's important for everyone else who enjoys it. So that's all I can say really.
Is there anything in particular that you're proud of to do with your work here at the reserve?
I'm proud of the volunteers. Without the volunteers, we really wouldn't get anything done. Because it's all very well me cutting trees down, but if there wasn't people to clear the horrendous mess I create, then we wouldn't get anything done. We would get it done, but it would take, you know, like twice as long. So without their sort of dedication to come down and do things, really we would be behind on everything. You know, everything we've done, even when we were setting up to do this, I mean, we didn't, obviously we had Gilliard's build the thing, but they had to clear the things, and then there was people who built the deck, and Chris Renner built the deck, and all this aggregate which had to be wheelbarrowed around the reserve to improve paths. Without the volunteers, you know, we just wouldn't achieve nowhere near as much as we have, because they're so dedicated. They come in all sorts of weather conditions, and a lot of the jobs are very heavy, hard-going jobs. So without their dedication, we would probably not achieve a third of what we do. I think we've got sort of probably an average age group for our volunteers is probably 60 upwards and slightly below. All the aggregate for the paths has had to be hand-booled around to improve the paths. They carry all the timbers down for making decking and for any construction work, and all the habitat management as well. I can sort of bash away with a chainsaw, cut trees down all day, but we wouldn't get anything done if they weren't there to help clear all the brush so that the area is prepped for planting trees or wildflowers or whatever we're doing. So that's one of the sort of the best things from the work side of things here is all those people who are dedicated to keeping things going.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for sitting down with me. This was fantastic. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Talking Naturally, and we hope you'll join us for the next one.